What's going on YouTube? Omega V here with you, and today I'm bringing you one of my favorite decks that I play right now. So, as you can see from here, that would be my Altergeist deck. So, Altergeist is just one of those decks that I got into from the start. I kind of just decided to get the cards while they were cheap, and it ended up being a really fun deck to play. I'm not really a strategy type player for the most part. I just like the power decks, and this is definitely not a power deck, so it was a bit of a learning curve for me to get this ready, but I think I have a pretty good deck list here. So yeah, it can play along. I'm not gonna say probably like a YCS level, but it should be able to at least compete at a regional level the way I had it. This deck obviously is what works for me. Obviously, just use it as a template if you're trying to build this deck and find what works for you with it. That's kind of how it is with all the decks, but let's go ahead and get started with it. So starting off, of course, we have 3 Altergeist Multifakers. So when a trap card is activated, you can summon this card from your hand, and if it's special summon an Altergeist monster directly from your deck in defense position. Definitely your starter card. Like, it really helps you start into all your combos and get your Altergeist cards out. It just, it's kind of just that card that Altergeist needed. If they had released it before the Sky Strikers came out, Sky Strikers came out like a week after this did, I think, or like 2 weeks. So Altergeist probably would have done a lot more in the competitive scene, in my opinion. Next up, 3 Altergeist Meluseeks. In my opinion, probably the best card in the deck. So when you summon her, there's not an effect, but she can attack directly to your opponent, and if she inflicts damage, send 1 card they control to the grave. So really good. Any problematic card that might be on your opponent's side of the field, bring her out, send it to the grave by attacking directly, and gets rid of it. Also when she's sent to the graveyard, you do get to add 1 Altergeist monster directly from your deck to your hand. So it's a really good card there, even if it gets destroyed. Obviously the downside is having that low attack, but again, she's mostly there kind of to just disrupt your opponent here. Alright, so next up we do have 3 Altergeist Marionetters. So her effect, when she's normal summoned, you can set 1 Altergeist trap directly from your deck to your field. So really good at getting all your traps out. Can definitely save you in a pinch if you haven't actually gotten your cards on the field yet. So really helpful to get her as soon as possible into your hand and summon her out. Yeah, then her secondary effect is you can target 1 Altergeist card you control and 1 Altergeist monster in your graveyard. Send the card to the graveyard and special summon that monster to the field. So again, just kind of helps extend your plays and disrupt your opponent more by switching out stuff on them. Alright, so next up, I actually run all 3 Silkidos. So I like running 3 of her just because I like comboing off of her. So her effect is send 1 Altergeist card you control back to your hand, and send 1 Altergeist, not Altergeist, 1 card your opponent controls to their hand. So kind of just more of that disruption, like helps you get rid of problematic things that you might not be able to get rid of normally with this card, because your opponents can easily hit over what these cards can do. So yeah, that's kind of why I run 3 of her. I do like seeing her in her hand, and even if you draw into her, like, you can still discard her for effects and everything, so it's not really a dead draw in my opinion. And same thing with this next card. I do run 3 of the Altergeist Conqueries. So basically why I run her is she's a better battle fader, really. So when an opponent's monster attacks, you special summon her to the field in defense position, and this stops the attack, as well as you target 1 monster on the field and negate its effects. So not only does it stop an attack from something that might be problematic, but it also just negates a card effect on the field. So it's really good in my opinion. I like running 3 of it, and I don't see why people really only run 1. Like, running stuff at 1 just seems kind of pointless to me. Alright, and then to round off the Altergeist monsters, I do run 2 of the Altergeist Pixiels. So again, guys, this is a pure build, so kind of, you'll see what I mean by kind of here. But yeah, Pixio's effect, excavate top 3 cards from your deck, add 1 Altergeist card to your hand from there, and send the rest to the grave. So again, just kind of that draw power that the deck needs. Having stuff in your grave really isn't too bad, so it's really, you can easily recycle stuff from your grave, so I don't mind using the effect to excavate it. And then to finish off the monsters, I do run 2 Ghost Ogres. Ghost Ogre, everyone should know its effects by now, so on to the spells. So starting off with the spells, 1 Spellbook of Knowledge, obviously that draw power, so I don't run the Spellbook Magician, just it seemed kind of pointless to have in here. So I just go straight with the Spellbook of Knowledge since everything is a spellcaster here. 1 Twin Twister, just because sometimes you do need to get rid of back row or field spells and whatnot, and sometimes you kind of just don't have other ways to get rid of it sometimes if you don't have your combo pieces. And 1 Monster Reborn because it's Monster Reborn, so obviously gonna play that. And last but definitely not least for the spells, I do run 3 Secret Village of the Spellcasters. So this card can kind of just destroy your opponent. So for example, Sky Strikers, this completely shuts them down. They generally, if you get this out before they start their combos off, they have nothing that they can do. So what this does is you can't activate spell cards if you don't have a spellcaster on the field, and for most of the Sky Striker builds, even some of the mixed builds, they don't have spellcasters, so it kind of just completely shuts them down. Same with Goki, it stops their rematch, it stops everything. Like the only way to get rid of this is if you have a spellcaster and can get rid of it, or if Monster Effect gets rid of a spell, or Heavy Storm Duster, I think, or yeah, Heavy Storm Duster, or whichever one the trap is that gets rid of stuff. So that's kind of the only way to get rid of things on this. So alright, so next up for the traps, 3 Altergeist Manifestation, of course. Thank God that this got the reprint that it did. So its effect is special summon 1 Altergeist monster from your grave, and if you do, equip this card with it. So before it only had the special summon it and equip it with this card. The text change might seem minor, but it really changes the layout of things. Like the chain with this is now that you summon the monster and then equip it, versus before it happened simultaneously. So you can summon the monster, bounce this card back to your hand with Sokiros or one of the other cards, and you don't have to keep it equipped on there anymore. Then the secondary effect of this is you can banish it and add 1 Altergeist trap from your graveyard to your hand. So again, just kind of helps with that recycling there. Alright, and then next up, 3 Altergeist Protocols. So Protocol is actually probably the best trap card in the deck, just because it stops anyone from being able to negate your Altergeist effects. So including itself if you're activating it. So its secondary effect is you can send 1 other Altergeist card you control to the graveyard to negate an opponent's monster effect. So again, really good, and your opponent again can't stop this card because it is an Altergeist card. So yeah. Alright, and next up I do run 3 Altergeist Camouflage. So what Camouflage's effect is, it prevents your opponent from attacking a monster for the first effect. They can still attack you directly if they do go, if that's your only monster on the field, so you gotta be really careful with it at times. Don't forget that. I know I did a couple times, so that kind of sucked. But then the secondary effect of this is if an opponent's monster targets the equipped monster, you can negate that effect and destroy it. And then the last effect is if an Altergeist card would be destroyed by a battle or card effect, you can banish this card from the graveyard. So really good. Next up, 3 Personal Spoofings. So unfortunately this isn't an Altergeist card, which would have made it way better than what it is. I can see why some people only run 2 of it, just because it's not an Altergeist card, so you can't search for it, but Its effect is you can shuffle one Altergeist card from your hand or that you control back into your deck and add one Altergeist monster directly from your deck to your hand. So really good to have 3 of. Like, I like to see it as soon as possible, which is why I run 3. I do understand why people only run 2, but I personally like running it at 3. So alright, then next up, 3 Altergeist Emelelfs. So what MLF does is when it's activated, it becomes a monster card, still a trap card at the same time, so it can be targeted by Space Typhoon and all that still. But yeah, it becomes a monster, 1400 attack, 1600 defense, and when it becomes a monster, your opponent cannot target your Altergeist cards can't be destroyed by card effects, your trap cards I mean, sorry. They can't be destroyed by target card effects, and your opponent can't target them with effects. So it's kind of just adding to that protection on there, like adding this on sorry. So yeah, activating this along with Secret Village of Spellcasters just lets you completely shut down your opponent, and like because they can't target your cards and they can't activate spells, so it kind of just stops your cards from being destroyed. And then lastly, 1 Solemn Warning just to round out the traps. Yeah, Solemn Warning, everyone knows what it does. So let's go ahead and move on to the extra. Alright, so starting off with our Link 3, I do run 3 Altergeist Prime Banshees. So her effect is during the main phase, this is a quick effect. Tribute 1 other Altergeist monster, special summon 1 Altergeist monster from your deck to a zone this card points to. If it's sent from the field to the graveyard, target 1 Altergeist card in your graveyard added to your hand. Once per turn, obviously, so... Alright, so next up we do have 3 Altergeist Hexias. So yeah, Hexia is one of those cards that I got a reprint also, just like Manifestation, so... gains attack equal to the original attack of each Altergeist monster it points to, so that one's okay. You're really not going to be using that effect as often as you might think, like it's not really as necessary. The secondary effect, however, though, is when a spell, trap card, or effect is activated, tribute 1 Altergeist monster this card points to, negate the activation. If you do, destroy that card. So yeah, spell and trap cards, again, this deck can kind of easily shut them down. And then the main part of this reprint was that they put or effect on there, so it's not just when they're activated. Like if a spell card's already on the field, it can go ahead and negate that effect, such as field spells if you use it for something. Yeah, you can just go ahead and negate it and destroy it, so it's really good at getting rid of those cards in there. Alright, so next up I do run 3 Altergeist Kidolgas. So her effect is that when an Altergeist monster you control inflicts battle damage to your opponent, target 1 monster in the graveyard, special summon it to the zone this card points to. But it can't attack unless this card has attacked already, so... And if this card is destroyed by battle, have 1 Altergeist card in your graveyard added to your hand. So yeah, don't go into this one as much. Like, it's really good if you're playing someone that relies on having stuff in the graveyard and summoning it back out. You can just easily go into this and just take it out of their control, that way it's under your control. But, alright. Then next up, I run 2 Nightmare Cerberuses, so this is why I can't call this one a pure build, just because I do run the Nightmares in here. If I had a Nibbly, I would probably run it in here, but unfortunately, I haven't been able to get one yet. That's next on my list of stuff to get. But yeah, Nightmare Cerberus, if it's Link Summon, discard 1 card, target 1 special summon monster your opponent controls in their main monster zone, destroy it. If it was co-linked, draw 1 card. So all those Nightmare monsters have that effect, that if it's co-linked and you activate their effect, you draw 1 card. Then the last effect of this is you can co-linked monsters you control can't be destroyed by card effects, so really helps protect against all those like Raigekis, Heavy Storms, all those things. Just kind of helps you get rid of them. 2 Nightmare Phoenix. So this thing again, if it's Link Summon, discard 1 card, target 1 spell or trap your opponent controls, destroy it. Then the last effect of this is once per turn, co-linked monsters you control can't be destroyed by battle. So again, just kind of helps protect your monsters if you need to. Next up, we have one Nightmare Goblin, because again, I only have one of him. Eventually I want to get two of him as well, so yeah. Link summon, discard one card. If it was co-linked when you activate this effect, draw one card. During your main phase this turn, you can normal summon one monster from your hand to zone this card points to, so it gives you that extra normal summon, which can be really helpful. And then neither player can target co-linked monsters with you control with card effects, so kind of that just rounds up that protection thing. And then lastly, I do run one Nightmare Griffin. Griffin is just a skill drain. Basically, it completely shuts down your opponent, so they have to have Griffin's just a skill drain to your opponents, really. So if it's link summon, discard one card, target one spell trap in your grave, set it to your field. Can't be activated this turn. Again, draw one card if it's co-linked. And special summon monsters on the field can't activate their effects unless they are linked. So this doesn't mean just monsters that are special summoned after it's summoned. So if your opponent has stuff that's already on the field and you bring this guy out, they can't really do anything like as far as activating their effects. So even if they have a linked monster out on the field, they have to have a second one that's linked to it. So yeah, they have to have a linked monster in order to be able to activate their effects, which really can shut down a lot of decks on there. So yeah, so that's it for this deck profile, guys. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Again, this is just a template for you guys to use. This is what works for me on this deck, and I don't expect it to work for everyone. So until next time, leave a like, comment, later.